An ER doctor once told me that I have a hard head. It was not the compliment I was hoping for. She said it after I passed out in a hospital room. I was visiting a family member who was recovering from major surgery, and I watched a nurse remove an IV from his neck. I should have looked away, but I didn't. I felt lightheaded. Why do you think I went to law school, not medical school? So I grabbed the metal rail of the hospital bed hard, trying to steady myself, and like that rail was going to negotiate with gravity. But then all of a sudden, everything went dark. When I came to, I was on a cold hospital floor, staring up at the fluorescent lights, trying to figure out where I was and why there were so many people in my face asking if I was okay. Nurses everywhere in front of me. Oh, right. I passed out. One of them helped me into a wheelchair, and I was rushed off for a scan. A few hours later, the ER doctor came in and said, "No internal bleeding. Everything is fine. You must have a hard head." That comment stuck with me, not medically, but metaphorically. Because, yes, I can be very stubborn. If I've already decided that I do not like a particular food or drink without trying it, I will defend that position almost to the death. When it comes to the big things, though, the ones that actually shape a life, I like to think I'm more flexible. Years ago, as a practicing lawyer, I chose to train as a chocolatier and build a chocolate brand. That meant being bad at something again for a while, being the beginner much later in life. And in some instances, it meant learning from people far younger than me. So I tell myself I'm open to big changes. I pat myself on the back for that. But then I take a harder look. For years, my other half, Albert, has told me to strength train. Lift like a man, he'd say, lift heavy. He wasn't wrong. He pretty much never is. It took me a long time, a decade, maybe more, to actually listen. And even then, I very slowly eased into it. But when I finally did, when I started lifting as heavy as I could, I saw real improvement, including with weight management. And reflecting on that made one thing clear to me. For many of us, when it comes to health or major life changes, I don't think the issue is confusion. I think it's resistance. At a certain point, we don't change, not because we're afraid, but maybe because we don't want to be wrong or so dug in. I don't believe that information or lack of information is the problem. Information is everywhere. And yes, sometimes it's overwhelming. I agree. But we understand the basics. Which foods are generally better, that movement matters, that stress has consequences, and that burnout is not sustainable. Too much information, especially around nutrition, still isn't a reason to do nothing. You don't have to have the perfectly researched nutrition and training program to start. For years, I ate oatmeal for breakfast with a sliced banana on top, a tablespoon of walnuts, and protein powder stirred in. I was following everything I had heard about oatmeal and fiber and the positive impact that oatmeal has on heart health. I'm not saying oatmeal isn't healthy. But after some time of experimenting, I know that for me, eggs and a small amount of fruit are the way to go for breakfast. So, what if you tried one approach for a few weeks? Paid attention to how you feel, write it down, journal it, make adjustments. Send a voice memo to yourself about how you're feeling that day with that small nutrition or diet or training adjustment. But doing that would require making a choice and sticking to it long enough to see whether it works for you. I think sometimes we prefer researching over deciding. It's just a way of procrastinating so you don't have to make a choice. Outside of health, I think it all plays out the same way. If you're unsure about a career change, you don't have to burn everything down. Start with a hobby, a side project that teaches you something about yourself. I've watched people receive serious health warnings or end up in major surgery and then coming out of that surgery not even attempt to change when faced with a significant health challenge. I've seen no effort to adjust diet, add exercise, or even just to be grateful that you have another chance at life. There's not even an attitude adjustment. So, what leads even the most stubborn people to change? I always thought it would be because of a single, maybe even devastating moment. But maybe it only happens when you look at yourself in the mirror and you have gotten sick and tired of your own excuses. I can say that for myself when I look back at life. Change happens when staying the same it starts to feel far heavier than trying something new. Share your thoughts and stories in the comments.